Canary Capital CEO says XRP is about to outperform Ethereum on a massive scale when it comes to ETFs. We also have a new clip from this Ripple webinar with some top Ripple employees discussing XRP. We're going to discuss 4-year cycles and if we are still going to experience those with this mass institutional wave coming in, greatest wealth transfers coming to digital assets, plus some Ripple and XRP news towards the end. Let's start here.
Into this, the Ripple ETF or XRP ETF approval odds right now on Polymarket hovering at around 86%. So one of its highest points, but it looks like this is going to happen. And what is the likelihood of the timing for this right now?
I would guess that XRP would probably be this year. Either Eric or James from Bloomberg simply said, well, if there's futures at Coinbase, then you probably get an ETF in 2025.
Your statement at that time was $5 billion in the first month. Are you still holding to that? Do you think that's a possibility?
I really am. I would say after Bitcoin, XRP is probably the most well-known on Wall Street and on finance circles. And then ETH is actually probably number 3. So if you think about it that way, I do believe that XRP could potentially outperform ETH just from, pure financial services standpoint.
Into this.
Hey, we're going to see if this guy is right. I would love for him to be right. 5 billion in the first 30 days will do wonders. Of course, that is fresh inflows coming into XRP to support those ETF funds. There's only so much XRP left on exchanges. So if those institutions start buying XRP, it might put pressure on other institutions that are going to be getting into XRP products to start seeding those products even before they get their approvals. Listen carefully, XRP.
I mean, XRP is not going anywhere. It's embedded within the XRP ledger. So Jack mentioned transaction fees. XRP is burned on it, every transaction that happens on the XRP ledger. It's also used as account reserves. So reserves to open an account, reserves to hold a certain amount of objects in your account. And then it's also used as a bridge asset built into the native decentralized exchange. So it offers, if there isn't liquidity between, Canadian dollar and Japanese yen, that'll automatically bridge through XRP through a feature called auto bridging. So from an infrastructure perspective, it's not going anywhere when the XRP ledger is used. And then as Jack mentioned, in use cases like payments, for example, where you do want that stability, RLUSD and stablecoins are a nice option for that.
Institutions are going to have multiple choices here. Do you want to use XRP as the bridge asset for cross-border payments or FX or whatever it is? Or do you want to use some domestic payments? You want to create your own stablecoin or use RLUSD either on XRP, on Ethereum to handle those stablecoin flows? Ripple has solutions. They just need the customers to tell them what they want and they will go deliver. A lot of Ripple's products that they've built today were from customer feedback. Hey, we need this. Ripple's all, let us go work on it. When we have a solution for you, we'll come back. And that's exactly what they've done. Now, I thought this was an interesting clip from Smoke Dog. 4-year cycles are over. Let's play this.
Seems to me that things are about to drastically change, mainly around this conception of global M2 money supply. We go through these cyclical stages. On paper right now, we're kind of towards the tail end, if you were to stick with that narrative of the bull run. What do you see playing out, particularly in the short term, the next year? And is it going to be the same as always, or is it going to be different?
The institutional consensus is that the 4-year cycles are over. Retail investors are still grappling with this fact because that means that major price swings, significant volatility is nearing its last days. And despite this impending reality of 4-year cycles being over, retail investors are still living in outdated mentalities and not keeping up with the publications that institutions are putting out on why this cycle has been so unique and why this cycle has not produced as many 100x returns as prior cycles have done. And the answer to that is because of institutional participation.
Interesting. Let me know what you guys think about the 4-year cycles. Are we still going to experience them or not? I think if you look at the stock market does have bull markets and it does have bear markets. So I'd imagine even if this market becomes a level of, stock market level as far as how much value is involved, 50 trillion, something like that, you're still going to experience ups and downs. But are we going to ever go back to a $1 trillion or $2 trillion total market cap for crypto? I think that's what people are debating. It talks about why the belief that the 4-year cycle in crypto is over is growing viewpoint, but there are influential experts on both sides of the debate. Let's go through what the both sides are. So ETF and institutional impact. Massive ETF inflows. 2025 saw record capital inflows into Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs as much as $51 billion at the peak, pushing Bitcoin's price to unprecedented levels. However, These flows have been volatile, with days of both major inflows and substantial outflows. Expanded access. ETFs make crypto exposure broadly accessible, encouraging large asset managers, pension funds, banks, and sovereign wealth funds to allocate into digital assets. Broader portfolio effects. Institutions see crypto as a core portfolio asset, not just a speculative side bet. This is tightened supply, produced steadier inflows, and may have reduced volatility compared to previous, more retail-driven cycles. The debate in the 4-year cycle is dead. The argument is it's over. High-profile analysts at firms like Bitwise and Syndium Bank believe that the 4-year cycle is losing relevance, with macroeconomic forces, ETF flows, and regulatory changes now playing an equal or greater role. They argue that the halving's direct market impact is diluted by the sheer scale of institutional and ETF capital. Counter arguments. Others, including Glassnode analysts and experienced traders, maintain that Bitcoin's halving is still a cornerstone event in the ETF flows, may actually reinforce the 4-year rhythm by synchronizing crypto market moves with broader financial cycles such as US presidential cycles. What this means for future markets: ETF flows as a new driver. ETF and ETP inflows and outflows are emerging as primary price catalysts, but periods of volatility remain possible when these flows are reversed. What do you think is going to happen, guys? Do you think the market's going to continue to go up indefinitely, or are we going to experience the cycles? I'd love to hear from you down in the comment section. The greatest wealth transfer is coming to digital asset. This clip is a little grainy. I do apologize. It's not on our end. So if you're listening, you're like, this sounds weird. It's not you.
Ask you to give your thoughts for the years ahead.
Yeah, as Joanna said, adoption is for sure going to go up. We will see more liquidity coming into digital assets, which leads to more professionalization. As already mentioned also before by Joanna, demand is currently or will be much greater than supply, which also will have its effect. And not to be underestimated also the great wealth transfer, which we are in the middle of now, which will have a crucial importance for digital assets. And yeah, it's interesting times to be alive, I would say.
Interesting time to be alive. I like that. I like that a lot. NASDAQ, Ripple, S&P 500. If you are bullish, you need to get even more bullish. Let me play this.
And, this guy sells it to that guy. That's essentially, what the stock exchange does. So if you can have a common ledger to be able to exchange those IOUs at, then that certainly makes sense. And there's examples of Korean banks partnering with local, Bitcoin companies for the settlement. People like the IMF or World Bank or these kind of people are always talking about these sort of blockchain settlement systems. NASDAQ is involved in I think doing some trials with Ripple as well. So, this.
Man, there's a lot of things happening with Ripple in the background. And I also wanted to say, if the stock market moved to a common ledger, which ledger would that be, right? We always talk about them wanting to use a common shared ledger. And so if the world needed to move to a shared ledger tomorrow, right now, what would that ledger be? And of course, I didn't say bridge asset. I didn't say XRP. I said, what would happen if the world needed to move? What is the best asset to do this in the crypto space? And this was the answer. Bridge assets like XRP are specifically created to function as intermediaries and cross-border payments, serving as a settlement layer between different currencies, both fiat and crypto. Using such an asset allows seamless value transfer with immediate settlement, low cost, and ability to bridge the diverse range of local currencies that global users would prefer to cash out. And remember, they keep selling. Like Ondo's big thing on September 3rd is, they're going to bring stocks and bonds and all of these different things to the world, right? Non-US customers can start investing into US assets. Now, what is the best settlement asset or settlement layer for all of that to take place, right? You start to wonder, Ondo, Ripple, right? Ondo, BlackRock. Additionally, bridge assets are increasingly adopted at institutional levels because their ability to act as universal liquidity providers to interconnect both centralized, which is the bank, and decentralized, the crypto systems. This liquidity and interoperability would be essential for a stock market with global participants using a wide range of currencies. There's also stablecoins. They're going to be a big player here in moving all of this value. Another leading option is stablecoins, USDT, USDC, EURC, which are digital tokens pegged to well-known fiat currencies. So interesting to see how this is going to unfold. And I thought this was a great clip to end this on. Check this out.
Well, important for those companies that are looking to be treasury companies or those that want to put Solana, for example, or XRP or even Dogecoin in an ETF.
Love hearing XRP being mentioned on Bloomberg Tech. Hey.
How soon will they know whether those tokens are indeed deemed securities or not?
Well, we've already put out a number of statements from our staff in the Division of Corporation Finance, which says some things are not securities. Now, we are working on, as Chairman Atkins said, as part of his Project Crypto kickoff, to provide some commission-level guidance, what is and is not a security when it comes to crypto. It is tied up in a decades-old Supreme Court decision called Howey, SEC versus Howey, as to whether or not somebody's an investment contract. The good news is that it is what I view as a principles-based test. Is it an investment in money in a common enterprise with the expectation of profits from the efforts of others? How do you apply that in the crypto space? That's what we're looking to do.
In the next month?
Can't talk about timing, but what I can say is this has been part of the Crypto Task Force's efforts from day one.
Listen, the SEC, the CFTC, the FDIC, the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, everybody is saying the crypto market is here. It is open. It is ready in the United States. We want to be the crypto capital of the world. We need crypto regulation. That is coming towards the end of this year. You mix all of these ETF inflows. You mix regulation here in the United States. You mix these $84 trillion wealth transfer from the current generation to the younger generation. They are more bullish at investing into crypto than stocks or any other assets right now. You don't have any idea. Like if you could imagine how much money is about to come into this space over the next 10 years, you would drop everything else that you are doing to focus on the crypto space, because this is where true legends and true generational wealth will be made. And I want to be involved in that. And I think you do too. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Have a great Sunday. Have a kick-ass week ahead. Let's go get these profits. Let's have some fun. Let's be smart. And let's retire early, right? That is the goal here. If you need financial advice, go talk to a financial advisor. Make sure that they understand the crypto space. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Let's get it. Peace.
I have just built a course for beginners, intermediaries, and experts of XRP to better understand the XRP ledger and Ripple, the company. If you're interested in getting that course absolutely free, there's a link down in the description. Please let me know what you think after you've taken the course. Aloha.